Welcome to another episode of our personal empowerment audio program, Finding Yourself in Paradise. Hi, I'm Michael Benner.
And I'm Steve Snyder. And our program today is on one of the most powerful laws of the universe. It's got lots of names. It's the law of cause and effect, or you go where you look, or you get what you expect. In the Bible, it says you will reap what you sow. In Eastern philosophy, they call it karma. The law says what you do comes back to you. In science, it's for every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. And on the streets, they'll tell you what goes around comes around. I guess my favorite version was always the collaboration of John Lennon and Paul McCartney at the very end of their careers together, where they said, in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. The most modern New Age name for this is the law of attraction.
And I like that, Steve. Attraction, to me, brings up the idea of magnetism. And if we get our polarities turned around, like in physical dance, obviously, we remember that opposites attract. But in the metaphysical realm, by all appearances, like attracts like. And so if you're a negative thinker, that's what you're going to attract, like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And sometimes people take this bizarre pleasure in going, oh, damn, I knew that was going to happen. Well, then why did you fixate on it? Why did you obsess on it? Another story we'll talk about later in this program, I'm sure. The reason that we dwell on the negative. But in the same way, if you put your attention on positive thoughts and feelings, those, like seeds, tend to bring forth more seeds, the same kind of plant. You reap what you sow. And so if I want watermelons, I've got to plant watermelon seeds. If I want radishes, the watermelon seed is not going to do. I've got to have the radish seed. I remember the James Allen quotation from As a Man Thinketh. He says, your dreams are the seedlings of reality. That's another nice way to say the same thing.
Yeah, just think about it. If you take one morning, you wake up and you take a minute, 60 seconds, and you pick up a pencil, and you look at that pencil and you just sort of stare at it and you observe the color and the shapes and the eraser and the lead, and you spend a minute with that pencil. The likelihood of you noticing pencils in the next 24 hours is dramatically increased. I mean, by probably 1,000-fold. There were a lot of pencils you would have never noticed that day had you not done that exercise. It's obvious that when you think about something, it makes you notice it everywhere. You buy a new BMW, you see BMWs everywhere you look. It's just the nature of the way the mind creates, looking for what it's interested in.
I read a book years ago by Robert Anton Wilson called The Cosmic Trigger. And in this book, he talks about how special the number 23 is. Well, in my life after that time, all kinds of 23s happened. I moved cross town, and I moved into an address that had two 23s in it in a zip code that was 90023. And I was blown away by all these 23s. But then I began to discern for myself, like, how much of this is me just looking for the number, and how much of it is some sort of inherent magic? Well, shortly after that, I had the opportunity to interview Robert Anton Wilson on the radio. And I asked him, I said, it's not the number, is it? You could have chosen any number, and if I'd read that and thought, well, maybe that's a powerful number, and I couldn't even finish my statement because he was laughing so hard. It was like I'd been punked. But he proved his point.
That's right. And whatever it is that you think about, you begin to attract in your life. Now, that's a very important concept because for you worriers out there, whatever you think about a whole lot, you attract in your life. Positive thinking attracts positive things. Now, this is an important concept because this is the law of attraction. This doesn't mean you always get what you imagine. It doesn't mean that at all. It means that you begin to attract it. You begin to move toward it, move it toward you in the universe. You begin to notice it more, pay more attention to it. When you encounter it, you have more consciousness around the encounter, and you do more with each opportunity. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to get what you want. I mean, people think the law of attraction, all I have to do is think I'm going to win the lottery, and they're going to win the lottery. Well, that's not the case. You can move closer and closer and closer and closer to winning the lottery, but unless you actually get all the way there, and only one person does that, you're not going to win the lottery. I remember many, many years ago when I had Live and Learn, we had a big class of like 50 people, and we taught them that you could close your eyes and go into your peaceful place and create parking spaces. If you're going to go someplace and drive someplace, you can like imagine in your mind that there's an open parking space right in that place you want to be. And so, of course, the next day, like 40 people are looking for that one parking space right in front of our building. Obviously, you're not all going to get it. I've worked with a lot of Olympic athletes and read lots about Olympic athletes, and you know what? Never heard of one that imagined winning the silver medal.
No, they understand you always go for the gold. That's the phrase, whether you get it or not. So you're right. The law of attraction, Steve is saying, puts us in the neighborhood, brings us together, increases our odds, so to speak. And I think a great place to begin to work with this is just to manage your physical and emotional health a little bit. The proof that this works in other areas in your life may be harder to come by, but if you take a look at that tension headache, for example, or the fact that you wake up one day feeling sort of depressed and you're not sure why, well, sit down and reflect on what have you been thinking about that may have seeded that depression, or that may bring on the muscular tension that causes that headache, in which case you want to be able to reverse that with some slow, deep breathing and feelings of letting go, and sure enough, that headache goes away. So little by little, if you radiate out from there with the idea of being responsible for your life, you may not be able to explain how you created or manifested every single thing in your life, but a general attitude that I am responsible, that I have tended to co-create, if not create, these circumstances will liberate you, especially when it comes to choosing responses.
So let's say you start with your health and you take a look at like the headache or the depression kind of thing, okay? So you have the power to reverse the effect of that headache, reverse the effect of that depression, make yourself feel less pain and like make yourself feel happier. And if you doubt that that's the case, then the absolute proof that it's the case is that if you went to the doctor and he gave you a sugar pill and told you it would get rid of it for you, it would. The placebo effect has been so well documented over the decades. If people believe that something is going to make their pain go away, their depression go away, even if it's only a sugar pill, it doesn't always work, but it works way, way more than chance, So the power of the mind to create and co-create, that's an important concept, co-create. It's like you don't create all by yourself. I mean, like babies don't make themselves have cancer, all by themselves. It's like we're part of a whole sea of creation, and we are involved in co-creating. And just because something seems like we had nothing to do with it, I think maybe we always have maybe a tiny little something to do with it, and we put ourselves in that place in that time. But even if it seems like, you used the word blindsided, it seems like we don't know where it came from, we still, as we often like to say, have the ability, at least as human beings, to get out of stress and move into a place where we can take responsibility for our perception of what it is that just happened. How am I going to look at it? What mood am I going to have? What attitude am I going to take? And then I have a choice now of doing what I did last time, or I could do something very different this time.
There have been numerous occasions where I have seen people exposed to literature about the law of attraction, or just sort of a common sense about the law of attraction that they get from their friends, and they fixate on, how did I create this situation that I'm in? Or how did I create that situation that I'm in? And the problem is that you probably are not going to be able to figure that out. You might see tendencies and patterns in your thinking or the way you respond to your emotions that you could change and improve and make more positive overall. But I think it's a mistake to try to reverse engineer, how did I get into this situation? Instead, turn around and look forward and say, how can I take responsibility for what I do with the situation that I find myself in, whether I created it or co-created it, or it was fate or destiny to some extent. You may never know. What difference does it make? If you created it purely with your consciousness, if you co-created the situation, or if you really were blindsided, you're always responsible. You can initiate a response right now and make that the best possible response from all the choices. That's, I think, where we begin to wake up and become aware. All right, I'm not sure how I ended up in this mess, but at this point, looking forward, what am I going to do about it? And then review all of your options and choose a response that's in your best interest. Nothing controversial about that.
Yeah, and in that way, you do create your future. You create this moment, and then this moment, and this moment as you create your future. And the key is to maximize this law of attraction. I mean, you can't guarantee success. You can never guarantee success. You can do everything right, everything perfectly right, and the economy could fail or somebody could mess you up. But what you can do is maximize your odds. You can create the greatest likelihood. And so using this law of attraction in the most effective way is the key. And people think that just thinking about it over and over again is what they need to do. But that's not the case, because, you see, your heart has to get involved. It can't just be your head. If it's just thinking and thinking and thinking, like you could think that I want to be rich, I want to be wealthy, I want to have $1 million. But in your heart, you're terrified of that concept. The idea, look, I mean, if I got that and I lost it all, what would it feel like? Or, oh my God, everybody would be after me. So you have to be consistent in your minds. It can't just be, I think this is what I want. In fact, the whole idea of I think this is what I want is absurd, because you can't think of what you want. You can only feel what you want. What you want's not logical. If what you wanted was logical, everybody would want the exact same thing. Logic doesn't change. What you want's emotional. So thinking I want something does not create the law of attraction. It's a combination of thinking I want something and being consistent with also feeling that I want something. And to maximize the law of attraction, the more powerful the passion, the more powerful the suggestion.
Yeah, believing you can have it is a big part of this.
Feeling like you deserve it, absolutely.
You talked about people who have as their retirement plan to win the lottery.
Yeah.
Like, all I have to do is really, really be desperate. And then,
that'll do it.
Yeah, I'm going to win the lottery. No, desperation doesn't work. This is not a kind of a magic that we're talking about, handed down in all cultures through the ages, that responds to desperation or any kind of effort or trying. It's much more elegant than that. It's about a quality of belief, a quality of faith, a quality of knowing that when you are positive about circumstances and opportunities and relationships and, yes, even physical things, the likelihood of magnetizing or creating those opportunities is enhanced, but as Steve said at the top of the show, not guaranteed. And then if you factor in desperation, like I really need that, look at your body when you say, I really need it, I've got to have it, my plan for retirement is to win the lottery. Your muscles are all tight. You're all tense. You're thinking about creating something in the world as if with a pick and a shovel or a hammer and an anvil, and that's not the way the law of attraction works. This is, may I say, a very delicate process, part of the elegance of the universe. Think of it in terms of grace and beauty and also odds. There are no guarantees. For example, what if you're busy attempting to manifest a particular outcome because you really, really want it, and the universe or God or the absolute or destiny, whatever, has other plans. The universe has other plans for you, right? Maybe you get what you need rolled into what you want. And then it manifests and says, well, this is pretty close to what I was hoping for, but it's not exactly what I wanted. I wanted the red one. I got the green one. Or I wanted it this way, not that way. Seems to me you've got to be flexible enough to consider that when your goal, your dream, your desire does manifest, that you consider that maybe you're getting something you need blended in with something you want.
And I think the most important focus is not on the destination, but rather the journey toward it. If you think about the law of attraction, like there's these two magnets, maybe the size of a quarter. Each one's the size of a quarter, and one's positive and the other's negative, and they're like just far enough apart so they're starting to pull toward each other. They're starting to pull toward each other, and eventually they'll come together and click. Well, the law of attraction is the journey from not being together toward becoming together. But you may never get the together part. See, here's the point. If you really look at what the heart wants, it's what the heart wants most. And what the heart wants most is probably something you're not going to get. That is, you want to be the biggest company in the world, or the winner of the gold medal, or the president of the United States. I mean, people have, if you really go with what would be the greatest possible thing I could imagine, you probably won't achieve that. But that's not the point. The point of the law of attraction, the point of life itself, I think, is the journey toward the thing you want the most. Even though you're not likely to hit the bullseye, why would you aim at anything less? Why would you aim at anything other than the best possible outcome? So you give your mind the exact idea of what direction you want it to go. Because it's not about being there. It's about moving toward there. It's like I live in a remote part of Maui near a little town called Hana. And there's a famous, if you know Maui, there's a famous road to Hana, And people get on the road to Hana. It's like 2 hours of windy roads and one-lane bridges, And then they get to Hana town, which is like a gas station, basically, and and there's nothing there. And they go, well, there's nothing here. What they didn't understand was, yeah, of course there's not. It's not the Hana. It's the road to Hana.
I think you've touched on a character flaw in a lot of human beings. We're so anxious and so nervous and so stressed out that we want everything now, and often forget the axiom, again, found in all cultures and societies, that it's about the journey, not about the destination. Yet, the best way to create the most appropriate journey is to have that destination in mind. Otherwise, as you often say, any road will take you there. Well, no, only one road will take you to Hana, for example. Yeah, I'm thinking of a pole vaulter. You talked about shooting at the bullseye or going for the gold in the Olympics. If a pole vaulter knows that he can jump 19 feet and he's in the Olympics and he wants to break the record, he's not going for 19 feet. He's going to think about 20 feet. Now, he knows he's never, ever jumped 20 feet, right? But he knows how it feels to jump 19. So all he has to do is adjust his imagination a little bit and begin to dream of 20. And if he doesn't do that, he's never going to get to 20. He'll get to 19.1, 19.2, but he's never going to get to 20 feet. He's got to have that dream. Even if he does, he may not get to 20 feet, but he may do better than he ever did before by going to 19.10 or something, right? That's the principle that we're talking about. It's the law of attraction to enhance the opportunity, not to guarantee an outcome.
Right, and to appreciate that if you're aiming at the bullseye, the journey between here and the bullseye is the best journey, the most elegant journey. That if you have an exact idea of where it is you want to go most, not where you'd like to go, not what would be kind of cool, but the best possible, not impossible. The mind won't work for the impossible, but the best possible outcome that is highly, highly unlikely, but it's the best possible. If you're aiming at that, the journey there is such a wonderful journey because you're learning what you need to learn, you're getting the lessons you need to get, you're experiencing the things you need to experience to become the best your heart could possibly imagine being. And whether or not you get there doesn't matter. I mean, it's likely you won't. And it's, in fact, even likely that along the way you'll learn more and decide to change the target. I mean, we aren't arrows one shot. We have to hit a target. We're guided missiles. We can course correct. But again, it's all about the journey. It's all about the now. And the pain we experience in life comes from resisting that now is what it is. It's, if you can put your attention on wanting something in the future, that's just great. And just being really happy with what you've got exactly right now on the way to that, because you're taking the most elegant road, then now feels fine. Now feels wonderful because you're on the road. You're on the road and you're moving in the direction you want to move. It's not about being there. It's being on the road and moving on the direction you want to move at the speed you want to move. I mean, even if you are on the right track, if you go too slow, somebody's going to run you over. So you got to be not only on the right track, but the precise right track with all of your passion and moving as quickly as is perfect for you to move.
In this philosophy, the law of attraction, there's enormous room for you to make it your own. There are so many different ways to understand and agree that it matters whether you think in a positive or a negative fashion, that it really does matter whether the glass is seen as half full or half empty. A glass half empty is only half of what it could be, but a glass half full still holds the promise of much more. It's amazing to me how few people set goals, much less believe in them. Even in business, I've read that as few as 15% of businessmen and businesswomen set goals. Well, how can your dream come true if you don't have a dream? How can Jack's beanstalk grow if he doesn't have the magic bean? You've got to plant the seed, you've got to set goals, and then believe in yourself. Whether you get it or not, whether it actually manifests exactly as you hoped it would, is of less consequence than the adventure that you have moving toward it, as Steve was saying. And it sure beats being a victim along the way. I don't know about you, but I've certainly come to a place in my life, some time ago actually, where I just was exhausted with the idea of being at effect, of being done to, of being a victim of life, tossed around like, what do they call that stuff in Santa Monica Harbor that floats on the water, flotsam and jetsam, and or just think of a fishing bobber, that is tossed to and fro by the wave action and the currents. And I think there are forces in our lives that would like us to feel like the helpless victim. And many people are willing to play that role. But if you're getting fed up with it, it's time to begin to think about the importance of positive thinking and setting those detailed and specific goals.
I recall the very first time I ever sort of felt this law of attraction thing, sort of started getting the idea of it, was when I first heard, when you wish upon a star, it makes no difference who you are. When you wish upon a star, your dreams come true. Now, at first I thought that it meant that if you made the wish, you'd have the dream, it would manifest exactly as it would. But I came to realize it doesn't say your dreams are true. It says your dreams come true. And come is the process of coming. It's moving toward. Again, your dreams you begin to move toward your dreams is what that really means to me. It's like when you wish, when you dream, when you hope with passion, congruent with what you really do want, not what you think you should have, but in accordance with what your heart wants. And if you don't know what your heart wants, you need to ask yourself, what do I want the most? Not just what do I want, because there's too many answers to that. What do I want the most? And if you're afraid to go there, if you're afraid to go to that beautiful, perfectest imagination, then it's because you're afraid of disappointment. And that's what you have to overcome. To me, that's the biggest thing people need to overcome to be able to dream, is they're afraid that I'm afraid of having a dream because if I don't get it, it's going to hurt. It hurts to not have a dream. It doesn't hurt to have a dream and not achieve it. It hurts to not have a dream. So if you allow yourself to realize disappointment's a nothing thing. I mean, every time you have a dream, a wonderful, beautiful dream like where you can fly or where you're famous or something, and then you wake up and you don't have that, there's some disappointment. I mean, a minute ago it was real as could be. The mind's used to dealing with wanting something and not getting it. What we need to do is let go of that. Let go of that completely. It doesn't matter if you get it. The goal's not about getting it. The goal is about having a direction to move toward. It's the magnet to move toward. So realize the bigger the thing you can imagine, this side of impossible, but the bigger the thing you can imagine, the more wonderful the ride toward it will be.
We're fast approaching Christmas time and time for letters to Santa Claus and Christmas lists. And usually at this time of year, I think at some point about that old Jim Morrison record, The Doors, where he yells out, "You cannot petition the Lord with prayer." Petitioning God for stuff is not the highest order of prayer. In fact, it's evidence that we've confused Santa Claus with God. Do you have a Santa Claus view of the most divine? Do you think that the way this beautiful and elegant universe works is that God, as a man on a cloud, judges your prayers as good or almost good enough or sorry, Charlie, you didn't make it? People request divine intervention in high school football games, and both sides pray before the game. That makes God a jerk. He had to decide to intervene on one side and not the other. Of course, God will not intervene in war or global hunger, but he'll come in and determine the outcome of a high school football game. We've got to rethink this whole relationship we have to the abundance of the universe. For example, How about beginning with an attitude or a prayer, if you will, or a vision in your mind, as in the law of attraction, of gratitude for what you already have? How about affirming the abundance and the blessings in your life now? Wouldn't that make sense? Wouldn't that be a way of setting a positive tone in the beginning and saying, I have all of this. I am so fortunate. Sure, people have more, but my goodness, look at the people who have so much less. And what kind of person am I that I really believe that my happiness is a function of the stuff that I own? You know, one of the issues I had, Steve, with that video from a few years back, The Secret. And I think there was first the video and then the book. I'm not sure how it happened.
No, for the most part, it was really good. I think it had a little bit too much of single focus in it.
Well, you're anticipating me. You're right. That my issue was the materialistic aspect of it all. That the only thing you can magnetize with the law of attraction is stuff. Houses and cars and prosperity. And it hurts me when I see so-called personal development instructors and trainers out there defining success only in terms of material goods. How about your success at being of service to somebody else? How about success at just helping out and leaving the world a little bit better place than it was? I think it's real important that we see the law of attraction as working in other areas to create opportunities, to magnetize relationships. How about that?
That's the most primitive form of attraction itself, indeed. The most basic form of the law of attraction is to attract the opposite sex or the complementary sex, whatever it is that you're looking for, to attract a mate. That's the oldest form.
Well, that in hunting, you know, the so-called sympathetic magic of the guys that painted in caves. They didn't hunt and then portray the successful hunt on the wall. They painted the successful hunt on the wall.
Visualized it.
Yeah, to psych up like a Friday afternoon pep rally at high school to get ready for the hunt. And they found that it made a difference. They psyched up. They, for whatever reason, did a little better. And so here again, all cultures from time out of mind, understanding the nature of sympathetic magic, if you will, or just simple positive thinking.
I think about the law of attraction in my own life in terms of my marriage. Like, I was 47 years a bachelor and always wanted to find the one. I think most people do want to find the one. And so I visualized not exactly what she'd look like, but what she'd be like, you know, what qualities she'd have, how kind she would be and how smart she would be and how pretty she would, all those kinds of things. I spent a lot of my life, you know, as many men do, fantasizing about, like, the woman I'm looking for.
Oh, women do that too.
They do. I can only speak for myself, but what I thought I was doing, you know, in my understanding of the metaphysical world, I thought I was attracting her to me. I thought I was pulling that image or that idea of that woman with those qualities toward me. What I came to realize as I have studied this even deeper is that to a small extent that's what was happening. But to a much larger extent, what the law of attraction was doing was making me move toward her. That is, it made me create in myself those kind of qualities I wanted in her. I thought I spent 47 years looking for the right woman. I came to realize I spent 47 years becoming the right man.
That's so powerful, and I'm glad we're talking about relationships in terms of the law of attraction. Someone said to me as a young man, I guess I must have been complaining about not being able to find the right girl. And this woman said to me, Michael, you must marry yourself. And I had no idea what she was talking about, and apparently...
She meant first or only. I mean, you must marry yourself before you marry anyone else? Is that what she said? Oh, okay. Yeah. I got it. Okay.
Yeah. First you must marry yourself, but
then you're okay to marry somebody else. Okay.
I didn't know what she was talking about, and so she said, do you know what I mean by that? And no, I really don't. She said... It was sort of like Gandhi, become the change you wish to see in the world. You know, be the perfect spouse. Change yourself to become the kind of person that the woman you're looking for would fall in love with. That puts the power where it belongs, the responsibility right here, right now. Each of us is the magician. Each of us is the Merlin. Remember, I think a lot of Christians forget this, that Christ said, these miracles, these amazing wonders that I do, you can do and more. And he spent a lot of his time teaching people how to heal and how to manifest, raising the frequency from water to wine, for example, or the alchemist lead to gold. Talks about improving or harmonizing a situation. There are parables, there are allegories. Was the story of the fishes and the loaves Christ using the law of attraction to increase the quantity of food in a literal way, or was it about an attitude of sharing that allowed everybody to feel that there really was enough, where if they hadn't had that attitude of sharing, of brotherhood, of camaraderie, they probably would have fought over the scraps of fish. I think it's real important for us to go back and take another look at the powers of mind that Christ talked about all of us having as children of God. Much is made of Christ as the Son of God in the Christian religion. But again, he said, you're all children of God. My Father's house has many mansions. These things I do, you can do, and more. And yet, I don't see Christian churches teaching people to heal. A few do, but not nearly enough.
Yeah.
Christ spent so much time. Maybe it's because we cured leprosy. I don't know. But there's other things we can heal, And these other allegories and analogies, like to put your attention on heaven and then all of the things will be added unto you. That's the same thing. Just be positive, expect the best, and when you're not getting the best, consider, well, maybe this is something you need that you didn't want. Pythagoras was famous 2,500 years ago for telling his students, the Pythagoreans, never pray to God for what you want. Who are you to think that you know what's in your best interest and have a better perspective than the elevated perspective of a God or a divine creator that stands elevated above the whole creation? Who are you to make these orders or requests as if you know all the permutations and combinations that are in your best interest? What if you just left that to, again, God, the absolute fate, destiny, whatever is your belief system of the way life unfolds, and then put your attention on what can I contribute, what can I give to the world, whether it's an outcome or whether those are seeds that in turn grow. We can create a lot more prosperity for other people and ourselves when we look at what we can give to the world rather than what we can squeeze out of it with the law of attraction.
And if you don't think that your thoughts have effect, that your thoughts are creative or do something, then why do scientists do double-blind experiments? Then why is the observer effect in the Heisenberg principle? The whole concept of our thoughts change reality. I mean, in an experiment, particles and waves go back and forth in and out of existence based on our thinking about them. I mean, we're just starting to touch in this whole field of quantum physics, but we have absolute proof that our thoughts are magnetic. They do create some effect in the world. And it's clear, as you study humanity, that the people who worry the most get the worst outcomes, and the people who are the most positive get the best outcomes. It doesn't mean that everybody who's positive gets exactly what they want, or that everybody who worries gets exactly what they worry about. But what it does mean is those thoughts move us in those directions. As I started the show with, if you spend some time thinking about a pencil, you're going to notice pencils. If you spend some time thinking about happiness, you're going to notice opportunities for happiness. If you spend some time thinking about gratitude, you're going to find lots and lots of opportunities to feel incredibly grateful.
You mentioned another example just the other day about what are the odds of finding a four-leaf clover if you're not looking for one. On the other hand, if you're determined to find one, or you feel blessed or gifted, or wouldn't it be cool if I found a four-leaf clover, you're going to be looking around for it.
A scavenger hunt, basically. You know, if it's on your mind, you got to find these weird items. Well, if you're not looking for them, you're very unlikely to see any of them. But if you're looking for them and they come through your purview, you're probably going to notice it. It's what do you put your attention on is what your mind is thinking you're interested in. It's like we always talk about the idea of the mind having the two knobs, the frequency knob and the volume knob, and the frequency knob, going from sleep to stress, and we put it in the middle to that focus state. And then the volume knob is like from boredom to passion. passion. Well, the higher the passion, the more likely it is the mind is going to want to look for and notice and find those things. That's what stops us when we're watching TV and we've got the remote. We're going, focus, 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 focus. We keep changing until we see something, hit something, and then the volume, like, oh, that's interesting, and then we stay there. And so we're thinking about that. So now when we notice anything else on that subject in the near future, we'll probably pay more attention to it. It's clear that we don't create reality all by ourselves, but it's equally clear that we participate in the creating of our reality with every thought we think, and more important, with every feeling we feel.
I asked a UFO expert once why they seem to come in groups and clusters, and he said, well, when one gets reported, more people look up more of the time.
There you go.
So they see more unusual things flying around.
And clearly there are unidentified flying objects. Whether they're spaceships or not, I have no idea, but they're objects people can't identify.
It's opportunity that we're creating with the law of attraction. And is there a magic involved in all of this? Definitely.
Consciousness is magic.
It's absolutely
it's incredibly magical.
But isn't putting an acorn in the ground and watching it become an oak tree just as magical?
Or a rainbow eucalyptus that in 6 months gets 25 feet high from a little stick. It's an amazing thing to see.
Or we saw a rainbow here on the island. You were on the mainland the other day. I've seen some rainbows here that were just, we had to pull over to the side of the road. Wow. It was just like, wait a minute, that is not a natural rain. It looks like it was painted in the sky by hand. It was just so intense and unbelievable. There is magic all around us. I said this the other day. What if you, in 1952, saw a microwave oven? You'd think it was satanic and from the devil. And, you wouldn't want to warm your coffee in that thing, right? Because you don't understand how it works.
That's the first reaction people had to X-ray machines when they first came out, too. Like, they're going to put these radiation in my body. Well, yeah, but...
Well, it turns out there was some merit to the concern, right? Yeah. We're not in favor of all high technology. We have to balance it, and we'll stumble our way through all of this stuff. But my point is simply what appears to be magic is science from the future that is out of time. And we just haven't explained it. Lightning was Thor throwing thunderbolts 1,500 years ago, maybe even 500 years ago. What does the church do to scientists that come up with information that runs contrary to church dogma? Well, they throw them in jail and lock the door and throw away the key. In the time of Copernicus and Galileo, the church fathers refused to even look through the telescope. They did not want to know that the earth revolved around the sun. They were so invested in the earth being the center of the whole universe, they didn't want to know the truth. So we are appealing to you to always want to know the truth. And if you consider that we've only known for a few hundred years that, in fact, the sun is the center of our solar system and the galaxy is so much more, and beyond that are billions of other galaxies. And it's only been 120 years that we've had the light bulb, for God's sakes. TVs in our homes for only 50 or 60 years. We just got here. Forgive us if we are still casting about to try to understand the magnetic nature of the mind. So the challenge is to you to listen to a program like this, to read books, to go to seminars, and to practice in your life positive thinking. Set specific, detailed goals and see if it doesn't make a difference. Will you get every single one of those? Well, of course not. If everybody plans to win the lottery for their retirement, obviously somebody is going to be disappointed. There's not enough lotteries to go around. But somebody's got to win the damn lottery. I just wouldn't invest in it. I would use the power that's inherent in the law of attraction to generate income in a much more reasonable way, to magnetize the opportunity to generate that income by looking at what can I give to the world, what product or service can I provide. Again, if you just turn it around, thoughts are things, but they're seeds, right? So in addition to going beyond merely material goods, magnetizing money and stuff, look at this as a seeding operation, that there will be little to harvest in the fall if we don't do some sowing of seeds in the spring.
So if we look at the law of attraction as we sort of move toward what we are thinking about, whether it's positive stuff we're thinking about or negative stuff we're thinking about, when we move into that fear place of I don't want to know, like what would be the greatest possible thing you can imagine? I don't want to know. I'm afraid of a disappointment. I don't want to go there. That's the law of repulsion. The law of attraction moves us toward whatever we're thinking about, positive or negative. The law of repulsion moves us away from what we're afraid of. It moves us away from and the more terrified we are of something, the more it pushes us away from it. But the truth is, going away from what you're afraid of doesn't move you toward what you are in love with. Moving away from fear doesn't move you toward your goals or toward your dreams. It just moves you spasmodically away from fear. So the I don't want to know is the killer. That's what really messes us up. We do want to know on some level, but the fear place, the little kid inside that's afraid, that doesn't want to know because, I believe, mostly because parents said things like, don't get your hopes up too high, we wouldn't want you to be disappointed, and we get terrified of this idea of disappointment, so we're afraid to dream real big. I think that terror is what causes the law of repulsion and moves us away from what we want in the world.
Now remember, Steve talked about the two knobs, one of them being the frequency. There is this channel that Steve and I call paradise. Brain researchers for almost 100 years have called it the alpha brainwave level. And the reason that it's important to the working of the law of attraction is the focus. You see, normal awareness tends to be a little bit scattered. Your mind jumps around, I'm sure you've noticed, and it's not focused on the bullseye. It's got several different bullseyes and distractions and interruptions. And then when you get stressed and anxious and multitasking, then there is a tendency for the mind to become even more scattered, and each thought, you see, has less power as you're thinking more thoughts per second, so to speak. So to come to paradise, as we're about to do, to meditate, to contemplate, to take a breath and relax and allow your attention to focus. That's why we're called focused passion, right? Puts all the power into that thought and just makes the magnetic attraction that much stronger. Still, no guarantees, but you're increasing the odds as you move into that focused state and begin to think of desired goals, solutions, the results and the outcomes that you wish to manifest.
So, as a real simple metaphor, take a look at life as a game of golf. You know, there's a little hole way, way out there that you're aiming for. Now, the likelihood that you're going to hit the ball right into that hole is really remote. But the idea is every time you hit the ball, what you want to do is go toward that hole, and you want to avoid those things on the outside, those obstacles, those sand traps and stuff. You don't want to go there, so you don't think about those things. The way to avoid a sand trap is not by going, I don't want to hit it in that sand trap, because that puts your mind right on it. What you want to think is, I want to hit it right down the fairway. So the whole game of life is really about getting closer and closer and closer to the hole. It's not really about getting that particular shot in the hole. The likelihood's small. Now, in golf, eventually you do get the ball into the hole, but that's an instant in time in golf. I mean, 99.999% of the time you're playing golf, you're moving your ball toward the hole, and that's what life is really about. So we're talking about this frequency of this alpha state. If you're multitasking, which is really a misnomer, if you're thinking about a whole bunch of things back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, your mind is not going to be able to stay focused on that outcome you're looking for, and you're likely to hit the ball in any kind of direction. So the basic idea is move the frequency knob into this middle between sleep and stress, this place we call paradise, the alpha state, through relaxation, through meditation, but mostly through making your mind know it's safe. And the easiest way to do that is always one slow, conscious, deep breath.
So let's begin. Do that now. Take a nice, slow, deep breath, and inhaling, fill your lungs. Hold as you peak. And now, just as slowly, exhale and feel the letting go.
And as you feel the tension release, and you feel anxiety being replaced by calmness and peace, and confusion abates, and your mind creates a focus that's very clear, and love the feelings of love replace all fear. It feels nice. We call it paradise.
Now, we could suggest that you choose something really big, like a new relationship or a career change. But let's start with something easy, something simple, something that might not prove to you the law of attraction, but will intrigue you to pursue positive thinking and goal setting. Choose a little thing in your life, maybe something that you're hoping for today or tomorrow, something that is almost at hand, that's important to you, and trust your first impression. Take another slow, deep breath, and then as you allow your breathing to find its natural rhythm again, let an idea pop into your awareness of a particular goal or a solution to a problem, perhaps. Could be any outcome that you desire. There you go. You're thinking of one now. And so think of it in the most positive way possible. Use your ability to visualize, to make pictures in your mind, your imagination, to see yourself receiving that object, that opportunity, that relationship. It might be as simple as that all-important phone call that you've been waiting for. Imagine yourself getting it now and feel the feelings of accomplishment.
And imagine yourself making that important phone call you've been postponing all this time as well. Here's a proof that you can create your life, that you can make something happen for you. Put it in your mind that today this is something you're going to do. You're going to say something nice to someone, something you wouldn't have said before. You're going to make yourself do that. You can explore the concept. You can imagine it true. You can see yourself doing it again and again inside of you. And then when the opportunity comes up, you just say something nice and you've proved that you did something you wouldn't have done otherwise. You have the power to create a lot of things in your life. Perhaps you can't avoid all of the strife. There's going to be problems that you get to solve. There's going to be issues you must find a way through, but positive thinking will really benefit you. And most important, I think most important of all, is to bring in the passion on top of it all. You can think what you like, and that'll point you in the right way, but it's the passion that will propel you on the way. So get clear that your heart wants what your head thinks is true, and make sure that those voices are one and not two. And when the heart and the head come together in peace, and when that I don't want to know, I'm afraid thing can release, and you have a vision of what it is you want the very most. I mean, what would be the best thing that you could boast that this is what I could possibly create? Doesn't matter if you get there. It's just going there that feels great. So allow yourself to dream. Disappointment's a nothing thing. Allow yourself to dream and create. Because what you'll discover, of course, along the way is that it's the journey that feels so great.
Your dreams are the seedlings of reality. Say that to yourself. My dreams are the seedlings of my reality. It's pretty simple and incredibly powerful. Dream big dreams. If you only get part of the dream, you can deal with the disappointment. Better to set the goal and set off on the adventure and enjoy whatever does come your way as a result, rather than sit by the sidelines waiting for life to hand you things that you think you must deserve. Notice we haven't talked about deserving at all. Deserving really has nothing to do with it. Take a chance on yourself. Risk a little bit. Dream a dream, and then a bigger dream. Dream big, hairy, audacious dreams, and expect them to manifest. But I give you a little clue. Do it for the greater good of all concerned. Think about, what can I give to prime the pump? You know, the story of putting the only bottle of water down the well in the hopes that that'll prime the pump and bring more water up. You have to give to be worthy of receiving. Think of the law of attraction as you giving, emanating or radiating that magnetism through a positive consciousness that then in turn attracts circumstance, relationship, and opportunity. But get the horse in front of the cart. The horse is pulling this. The dream, the passion is about giving and making the world a better place for all concerned, not simply yourself.
So enter paradise frequently in your life. Whenever there's tension, whenever there's strife, just take a deep breath and come back here, and somehow your mind just gets much more clear. So now, coming back to the land of wide awake, take a deep breath and bring yourself back to wide awake.
I think we should add right here at the end, though briefly, there is a concept called magical thinking that enters into this whole discussion, particularly when individuals are stressed or nervous or anxious. There can be this feeling that any thought that passes through my head is going to manifest. That any idea I get, oh, no, don't say, this is a superstition.
Right. Don't say it because it's going to come true. Just by saying it once.
That's not the law of attraction. No. That's just a superstition. You have the latitude, the system of checks and balances built in that allows you to explore negative thinking without manifesting it. Your negative thoughts are not going to manifest unless you dwell upon them and care strongly about them. If you really love them or really fear them and dwell upon them, there's a tendency that now you're planting weed seeds, so to speak, instead of flowers and veggies and fruits and such. So the principle does work that way, but it always takes an effort. So allow yourself the latitude to explore the negative possibilities of this action or this inaction or this phone call. You don't have to worry about every little passing thought manifesting in your life. That would make you very neurotic and even, I suppose, could conceivably lead to some sort of psychotic break. But to think in terms of increasing the odds, and as Steve said right at the top of the program, magnetizing the opportunity, that's really what we're talking about. There's no guarantees to this. Remember, this is not simply your life, though you're responsible for it. It's quite likely that each of us is here on a mission. We have things to accomplish. We're here for a reason, perhaps, and each of us then would have a responsibility to decide, well, what am I here for beyond self-gratification? What is my job here beyond making myself happy? Well, how about just making some contribution, doing things you love to do, and therefore do well for the benefit of other people? I think that really primes the pump.
Yeah, one of the great ways to do this, I met a guy just a couple of days ago, a CEO of a company who has been one of our earliest subscribers. He's got over 100 shows of ours on his iPod. And so I was thinking, well, one of the great things you can do now this holiday season is to give one of those shows to somebody else. If you want less fear in your life, give a show on fear to somebody else, you know. It'll make you think more about fear in your life. Giving these programs away, which costs you nothing and gains you tremendous gratitude from the people you're sending to, makes you feel better about yourself. It's a wonderful gift. This is a way of using the law of attraction in a positive way. By giving, priming the pump, by getting it all started, the more you give, the more you are open to receive.
Because we've made it so easy for you to send the program feed to your iTunes software or to the RSS reader that's built into every browser, some folks don't come back to the website very often, but if you do that, In addition to the store and the free articles and information on the Sunday live webinar, you'll find a built-in player on the login page with the Send One to a Friend gadget right underneath it. In other words, we'll do it for you. You just poke on that button, choose a program you want to forward, and again, free of charge, we'll send that program out or any other program. Do this as often as you want, and it's a wonderful feeling to know that you're helping to make a difference in people's lives. And it's a wonderful feeling for us, too, because you, for as little as 99 cents a week, not only benefit from these programs, but get to share them an unlimited number of times all around the world with the magic of email and the internet, which, again, a few years ago, this would have all seemed like magic, too. So you can do with all this technology whatever you want. And the same thing with the law of attraction. You could use that in any way you want. And with the holiday seasons at hand, you may also want to think about giving a gift that keeps on giving month after month after month, a real affordable and yet valuable gift for your friends. You know people who are looking for this kind of material. So subscribe them to FocusedPassion.com. Thanks very much for being with us, and as always, be gentle, love life, and take care of each other. We'll talk to you next week. For Steve Snyder, this is Michael Benner. Aloha from Maui.